Good morning, Steve and everyone else. It's such a pleasure to have this opportunity to see you guys. I'm so glad that I have been asked to be here. And like Steve said, Dr. Ella said, I had similar experience when I got my first and second job. I didn't realize that the employers in any case just gives you the lowest of a range and many other possibilities that are not necessarily monetary, but can give you advantages. Could be a better office with the windows, or could be some equipment for the laboratory, it could be student assistant over the summer. I had no idea about any of these, but as time goes on, we learn. And I also had the opportunity, what experience. I've been at Cal Poly 15 years. I've been part of the committees that we have hired many, many new faculties. And you see some faculty, for example, come or postdocs come with really no negotiation expectation, and they're just happy for the job and I take it. But there are other people that they have more experience and they actually get the best opportunities that are available there, but it's kind of hold back because no university wants to offer the maximum at the beginning. They have limited resources and only offer when they want to keep someone or somebody actually asks for. So asking is a main part of this. So with that, I am looking at, we have 25 students. At some point, I really like to spend, since we have about 2 hours, very briefly to get to know who my audiences are and get to know you. I know many of you probably don't have your cameras on, but if you're willing to and it's comfortable, would be nice maybe to turn it on while you just say your name and kind of where you are in your academic and workplace, like graduate school, doing research, graduating, and your major. That would be very helpful to have a brief, a few minutes to spend on that. And I will actually have a hard time to see all the both screens, so I cannot call on anyone. But maybe, let's see. I don't know how we could do this. That works better. We are going to have another opportunity that I'm going to ask you to kind of introduce yourself with certain manners, but this online makes it very difficult. So if you are willing to maybe introduce yourself, then at that point you can turn your camera on. And if not, that's okay. I will, whenever you ask question, at least maybe just tell me your name and tell me where you are in your journey in life and academics. Oh, I'm seeing lots of cameras coming up. Thank you. I don't know if you have the all screen, but I'm going to open my participation list. Let me see. We have a, maybe I start from my screen. I'll go with this screen. Olivia, are you kind to start and introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourself?
Hi, my name is Olivia. I'm a second year biotech major. And yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Perfect, thank you. And it is so lovely to see your face. Seeing you young people makes me energetic and just makes more meaning, especially in this very difficult time. Thank you. Carolina?
Hi, my name is Carolina. I'm a fourth year chemistry major and I do research as well.
Very good. Adriana?
Hello, my name is Adriana and I'm a second year biology student.
Very good. So we have some more senior and some relatively new students to Cal Poly. Edna?
Good morning. My name is Edna. I am a third year transfer student. This is my last year at Cal Poly Pomona, and I am a biology major.
Wonderful.
Oh, and I recently got accepted into NASA JPL's bioinformatics workshops.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Cassandra.
Good morning. My name is Cassandra. I'm a graduating senior. I'm going to be starting graduate school in the fall.
Very good. Where are you going?
To City of Hope's graduate school.
Awesome. Wonderful. Ritu?
Yeah, hi, my name is Ritu. I'm a graduating chemical engineering major, and I'm also starting graduate school in the fall.
Very
I haven't decided which program yet. I have a couple of choices to choose between.
wonderful. That's always nice to have choices. Great. Abigail?
Hi, I'm Abigail Trujillo. I'm a third year chemistry major. Yeah, and that's about it.
Very nice. Very nice. Elisa? Hi.
Sorry, I don't know if you meant me. Sorry, my dog is around. But anyways, I'm Alicia Olivas. I am a third year transfer, and I will be graduating in the summer, and I will be transferring to UCI for their PhD in chemistry.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations. That's great.
Thank
Tristan? Tristan?
Oh, sorry. Hi, I didn't hear you say that. My name is Tristan Scharfenstein. I am a third year computer engineering major, and I will be going. Well, I have a couple options, but I'm doing summer REU either at University of Houston or Tennessee Tech or Georgia Tech.
Very good. It's impressive, all the things you have accomplished and all the great things you guys have that coming for you. Camille?
Hello, my name is Camille. I'm a fifth year chemistry major, and I have done research in a lab, but because of the pandemic, I haven't been in lab recently. But right now I work in a clinical laboratory, and I hope to go to a PhD program next year.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Kristen?
Hi, good morning. My name is Kristen Dole, and I'm a fourth year general biology.
Very good. You have a little hard time to hear it, but you said fourth year biology, right?
Yes, sorry.
Very good. No, it's all good. Thank you.
Yes.
Anta?
Oh, did you say me?
Sure, Melinda, you go first.
Oh, okay. I'm Melinda. I'm a fourth year biology major with an emphasis in microbiology.
Very good. Samantha?
Oh, sorry about that. I couldn't hear you at first, but I'm a fourth year biochemistry major here at Cal Poly Pomona.
Very good. Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Cecilia?
Hi, I'm a third year biotechnology major, and yeah.
Very good. Well, it's really, you have no idea how much energy your faces gives me. I ask my student, I know it's uncomfortable sometimes, but just seeing how resilient you are, all of you, it just is amazing that in spite of all these difficult times, you have your work together, you have good attitude, you have a smile in your face, and you continue working hard. So I'm proud of all of you. So let's meet more people. I'm getting emotional. Karina.
Hi, I'm Karina. I am a fourth year civil engineering major at Cal State Fullerton, and I'm currently doing the Edison STEMnet Student Research Fellowship.
Very impressive. Nice meeting you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you too.
Julia? Okay, no problem, Julia. But Julia is a chemistry major. It's his last semester and doing research, which is pretty exciting. We are happy to have you and thank you for finding alternative ways to communicate. Thank you.
And just a note, Julio has gone into, I think I might be wrong, but about 3 PhD programs so far. So
very nice, impressive, Julio. Haley?
Oh, it must have been the other Julio. Sorry. It was the other Julio. Sorry, Julio. Okay,
well,
but we have high hopes for Julio.
Yeah, Julio has those in his near future, those kind of similar accomplishments. Very good. Haley.
Hi, I am a fourth year food science major, and I'm graduating this semester.
Very good. Good luck. Eiko?
Hello, sorry I can't have my camera on because I get like bumped out of Zoom, but I'm a third year biology major with an emphasis in botany, and I couldn't apply for any RIUs this summer because I'm taking summer classes, but I eventually want to go into botany systematics research.
Oh, very good, very good. So I moved to my second screen on the Zoom and some people moved around. So hopefully I won't recall people again and don't miss anyone. But Emily? My next person.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm a fourth year biology major. I just recently started getting into research just because, you know, it's not really too much going on right now, but yeah.
That's true, but we'll change. Matthew, is it the I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing. Matthew, right?
Me?
Yes, you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a third year computer science major, and I've been doing research through Spires with this, and that's about it. Just doing personal projects and trying to get internships.
Very good. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Mary?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry, my mic hasn't been working well like Julio's. So my name is Mary. I'm a graduating biotechnology major. I'm also studying a PhD program at UCSF in the fall.
Oh, very nice. Congratulations. Karina. Oh, did I ask? No, Karina talked already. Sorry. Esteban?
Hello, my name is Esteban Castro, and I'm a fourth year biology major at Cal Poly, and I'm going to be applying to prep programs.
Very good. Good luck to you. Richard?
Good morning. My name is Richard. I am a second year bio major.
Very nice meeting you. Am I missing anyone? I know I missed a couple people in transition from a page to the other one. Tristan, did you go? Not sure. So if you haven't introduced yourself, would you be kind to volunteer and speak up? Oh, does that mean I covered everyone? And we all know Dr. Alice. So I know it takes a few minutes, but I really wanted to connect with you. We had so much of this virtual connection that it's hard to talk to a computer or a boxes of names. So it just means a lot to me. And it's such a pleasure to know you guys. And maybe in fall or something, we'll run to each other on the hallway. So that would be nice. All right. I don't know if I have a right to share a screen, Dr. Alice.
Yes.
Oh, it's like, yes, I already do. Wonderful. I'm going to share my screen and start, kind of a presentation discussion. We will talk together, and I try to make this, even though it's virtual, as interactive as possible. So let me just acknowledge that sometimes we are perceived as a different person from different perspective, especially being in science and living in a society. We are not among our family, our friends, and each of them may have a different, perspective of what we do and who we are. And on top of that, I think this is a very difficult time for all of us. Many strange events from the political and social and to the health issues that are happening. And it is somehow, it's kind of sad to see that, you are trapped in this screen and you're muted and you're forced inside and away from the friendship. That means so much to all of us. And the school that, somehow had centered our lives now is not a place that we can go. So it is definitely difficult time, but it's okay to be sad. We are not alone on this. And the other part that is acknowledging that makes us really feel that this is a community, challenge. And given that how young you are, you may feel like this obstacle is like end of the world. The life that you already knew for 20 some years in your life, it's already over, and now you have to deal with very different and not as pleasant situation. But remember, you're very young and you didn't have the life experience that most of us older, your faculty had. And this pandemic is definitely a temporary and piece of your life and memory as the life goes on. So that means that it's going to get better. So even though it is hard and it is sad, hang in there and things will change. And I actually believe in human spirit, that how strong it is and how well can overcome great obstacles. Of course, your stories and examples are important as individuals, but if you look at the history and the big people who have accomplished either from, personal or humanity or war and anything, it is inspiring that the human spirit is strong. And I believe in you. And I know that you have that ability to grow and contribute and live productive lives. And this is going to be a small temporary part of something that you may share with your grandchildren, hopefully. So with that, I wanted to acknowledge that this is a difficult time, and I am really proud of all of you, that you keep your heads up and your attitude and your positive outlook and work hard. So with that, let's talk about negotiations. I want to start with the book that is one of my favorite books. There are several, examples and research studies presented in this book as a reason why, for example, women as a portion of the society doesn't get paid or acknowledged enough compared to their counterpart male colleagues. I don't think, this is limited to women. We know that maybe early, a few years back, this was more studied and highlighted, but there is definitely biases for different portion of our society. Either it's their nationality, it's their race, it's their sexual orientation, and they create biases that they don't get being the highest privilege in anything in our society. But, these examples that I have are partly due to the fact that, like Dr. Alla said, I have been part of the training mentors program from APS, American Physical Society. And one of the major minorities in the physics and in general science community is females. We really don't have, in the classes I teach for engineering, we barely have 15% women. And then when you go to master's program, that gets down to 10. PhD goes lower, and the people who go to academics and actually get tenured, it's really a handful percentage of the whole. So that's why maybe some of the focus and things I talk about, it may be focused on females, but what I am pointing out here, it applies to all, different areas of humanity who either for their cultural activities or culture and norms, or because of being a minority or not having enough voice, they don't ask for the things that people who are privileged easily ask and own. So one of the studies they did in this book, in the first experiment, there was a game of words, and they asked men and women to contribute to this study, and they told them that you would be paid between $3 to $10. And researcher handed everyone just $3 at the end of the game. 3% of the men asked for more. They thought they did better and they deserved more than 3, the minimum. Only 2% of the women asked for more. Then they did a study in a different setting and repeated that. In the second experiment, the participants were told that you can negotiate the outcome. So this is the range, but at the end, you can convince us or negotiate if you think you deserve more. In that case, 54% of the men asked for $10. Only 17% of the women asked for more than the minimum that was offered. So the bottom line is that if we don't ask, we never get that. And our culture has somehow created, or our internal values and principle feels that women don't usually ask for more in anything, not just negotiation and income and salary, but if you really want to, you have to learn that this is part of the success, is part of the, growing in your field and being compatible with the rest of the community that are your somewhat maybe competing against. Was there a question? Yes. So you may think that, this small amount of $3 to $10, $7 difference, or anytime a few small number is not such a big deal. But like Dr. Alice pointed out, over a long time, this difference becomes substantial. So let's look at an example. So they did a study and they found that in average, in the Carnegie Mellon, they found that about 7.6% higher income is received by men in the exact same jobs. And only 7% of the women negotiate their salary compared to 57% of the men who often do that. And negotiation increases salary usually at least in average by 7 or 8%. So if you think about, again, these are small numbers, assume that if the starting salary is $5,000 a year difference, over the lifetime, that grows substantially. It expands to about $15,000 difference in salary by the age of 60. If you get 3% increase every time, that $5,000 per year becomes $15,000 per year. And if you think about over a lifetime, you're working 25, 30, or 35 years, these differences add up and could reach about $1 million difference in the income over a lifetime. So it has lots of impact financially, but also it has another impact. Our society has come to believe that people who cost more, they are more valuable. So when it comes to opportunities for leadership, promotion, and other executive positions, when somebody is paid higher, it seems like it's more valuable and it's going to deliver more. So the people who don't negotiate actually over time ends up to be looked at low cost and low value. And that's even bigger impact why we don't have enough diversity in our leadership, in our different either businesses or STEM or any areas in our society, as much as it could be representative of actual population. So this is kind of why do we have this, workshop, is the fact that there are ways, there are techniques, there are things that we maybe have not thought about them explicitly or read about them that can help to boost our ability, not only understand that it is our right and it is an option to ask for additional resources, but also how to do it, how to be successful, how to be reasonable, and at the same time, just show the value of your work and get the best for the efforts that you're putting in. So before I start discussing some of these, I want a little break and see if there is any question before we talk about how and techniques.
I do have a question.
Yep. Oh, you have a question? I was going to open the chat just in case if I didn't see that. Yes, please.
I do have a question. In terms of the numbers that you ran, the differences between genders, was there given a reason why those exist? Perceptions, training along the way, societal pressures, was there a reason given? Because then maybe that's something that we can discuss too later.
Certainly. I think one of the major one that it always comes up is the fact that most of the people who get paid low, they don't negotiate or ask for. They may be offered equally at the beginning and they don't ask, so they end up being low number, Or the other factor is that they might actually been offered lower, because it's possible that when the job offered and somebody wants to attract the employee, if they think this person is going to settle down to a lower value for whatever biases and the value system the employer has, that they may think, oh, the woman is not going to work hard, they are going to be family oriented, so we are going to pay this much to women, but then we are going to pay that much to a man. As we know, generally in hourly pays, even the women get paid less. So I think part of it is with the biases and the norms of society. And I think the other part is with our internal culture, the way we grown up. For example, I've grown up in a culture that asking for money or more is a very negative attribute. So you're not supposed to. It doesn't sound nice. It doesn't sound good. But in our society that we live in, and United States, that's not the case. That shows confidence, that shows competence, and it's actually expected. So just somehow working with our own natural intrinsic and value and culture and going against that, it's a challenge for most of us. So I think this is a very interesting question, and definitely I would like, maybe people can say how they feel about it or what their intuition or their experience has been for the reasons behind it beyond what I shared. Okay, thank you for your question. So let's see. So we talked about salary, but negotiation is not really limited to salary. And in order to both train ourselves and set the mindset of how we interact in any kind of difficult situation or negotiation, you have to keep in mind that there are many different times and ways and types of negotiation takes place. Sometimes you just want to request something. It's not just salary or money. You need something to do your work well, or maybe even in a personal life. We are asking certain things to change because the setting that has been agreed upon is no longer suitable or ideal for your work or the situation that you are in. So you need to ask for changes, and that becomes negotiation. And sometimes also you're in a team and a group, and there are different responsibilities, there are different tasks, and there are different maybe compensations. So you need to negotiate or articulate your reasons for what you want and why you are a good candidate for those responsibilities. So I want us to perhaps take a minute and maybe if you can relate to any of these, requesting something, asking for a change, or deciding on responsibility, take a minute or two and brainstorm on these examples. We are going to have later, very soon, a low breakout room to talk about specific questions. But I think this is a good point to start thinking about those. And if you like, you're more than welcome to share your ideas on the chat room for the rest of your friends to see that if you have faced with any of negotiation beyond just salary in your life so far. And even if you don't, that's okay, because in just a couple of slides later, I'm going to ask you to go to a little small group and talk about 3 questions. That part of it starts with this.
Can I ask them to reframe it for just a moment? It might help them. If you have a test handed back and you think some questions could have received more partial credit, are you willing to go back to the instructor and say, hey, I think I deserve these points, or do you leave it there? That might give you some insight as to whether you have that initiative or that shyness, because that'll pop up again with regard to benefits and salaries and other rights later on. Just something for you to think about, and you can share that too.
Yeah, that's a great example. You may have the same, argument and rights of another student, and one goes to the instructor and asks and talks about it, and the other one doesn't. So you know what the outcome is going to be. That person is going to get a little extra credit, and the person who doesn't go to have that conversation won't. More hours at work, yes, negotiation when buying a car. Well, with sisters is the hardest one. So yeah, I want you to actually, the point of this is to think about that. It's not about salary, and we cannot just focus on that. If we have to learn to stand up for our, rights and ask for things that makes our life easier and a more fair or expectation that you have, that is the first step to go and negotiate big things like car and job and other things. Okay, nightmare with the sisters. Yes, I have two sisters too. Very good. Yeah, group work. There are some good examples there. So I'm going to go on because soon with your mind started to think about that, it's a good time that we will have a more comprehensive discussion about these ideas and what you do about them. So as I pointed out, negotiation is skills and can be learned. And again, some of us learn from the beginning. If you're an only child, maybe you get everything and you never learn that. If you grow in a big family, maybe you realize that for survival, you have to negotiate with your sisters, brothers for the space, for the time on certain, TVs and such on, so forth. So we have different life experiences. Sometimes we learn those naturally. And if we haven't had an opportunity to learn that naturally, there's really strategies and ways to do that. So there are theory to learn, but the difficult part is the practicing. And that way, both learning and putting what we learn in theory into practice. So here is the 3 questions that I want us to focus on as, oh, sorry, I went a little ahead of myself. Before we break in, I want to share something else, and then we can go to breakout rooms. So when we do have any negotiation, either your sister, your advisor, your mother, you have to understand the person you will be negotiating with. What are their interests? You cannot go one way to this conversation. Negotiation is a two-way, in a way that you say that I will do something and or why I deserve something more, or why I need something. And there's also different styles that people have. So one thing is that you may want to discuss as you go to the breakout room, think about what are the styles you do, what are maybe in the scenarios that you're discussing, maybe more specifically, what is that the other person might be looking and their interest is. And always keep in mind that there is a range of possibilities when you're discussing things with others. For example, if we are thinking of salary, the employer thinks about a range that they are willing to offer to someone for the job that they need to do. For example, in Cal Poly, when we hire new faculty, we know the highest cap that absolutely over that not going to pass. And we know the average that is offered to everyone. So we often start with the average, which is the low of our range, and then the highest will not pass the last higher usually. So there are certain elements that university comes up with that, but when we offer salary, we start here. We say, average salary we give is here. And then this other person, the employee has certain things in their mind. They want to get so much more, but at the same time, they understand that that may not be ideal. So they have a range. So maybe they're not willing to work for less than a certain amount. And the people here are not willing to pay more than a certain amount. So the negotiation, active negotiation, brings you to that range that the both people are comfortable. So if the employer accepts the first offer, it's going to end up here. And if it goes too strongly here, these people might say, sorry, we can't do that. So yeah, we have to say no. So that is the point of negotiation, is to find the zone of possible agreement. So it's not just what you want. You also have to know what the other person is able or willing to contribute, and find that area that is your acceptable and the highest that they are willing to do. So this was part of from a book that's called Getting to Yes by Fishers and Ori. And it has more detail. If you're interested, you can look for that book. And this ZUPA became a very common acronym that it's used in negotiation, and many self-improvement and dealing with difficult scenarios being used as zone of possible agreement. All right, so with that, let's think about this discussion. If you need to take a picture or write the question down, please do that, because when you go to the breakout rooms, you're not going to be able to see this and you may feel like, oh, what was the other question? So I'm going to give you a moment, and then I am going to stop sharing my screen so I can create a little breakout room. Let's see, we have 28. If I subtract Dr. Alos and me,
I have them ready to go.
oh, wonderful. I love that I have wonderful help. So thank you, Dr. Alos. So if you have the question, then I think Dr. Alos is going to open the breakout rooms. And we spend about roughly 7 to 10 minutes. I may join you and see how things goes. And if you need more time, we could extend that. But I think for now, think about 7 to 10 minutes in each group. And when you come back, either you have a lead for your group, or anybody on that group is, kind of expected to share some of the discussion. But if you have a lead to summarize all the discussion for that particular group, that will be wonderful. So please pick up a spokesperson for your team, and the other people can contribute if that person left anything out. Okay? Any questions before you go to your breakout rooms? Wonderful. I have about 10:42. So after 8 minutes, I will send some sort of reminder and check to see how things are going. Of course, if you don't mind, I may move to the rooms and kind of eavesdrop and get to know small groups a little bit. But other than that, I'm not going to be interrupting you. Okay, Dr. Alos, I think this is a good time to open the rooms. Oh, okay. So I am invited to go to room 5. Oh, actually, stop sharing. That was my intention. Okay, Dr. Alos, I remember you said about 10:55 we have a break. Should we hold the discussion for after break, or?
It's totally up to you. You can discuss for a while. You can go a little bit more, but you can give them a break now if you want. It just depends on how bad you feel for them.
No, I feel like I want to spend a few minutes to hear from them, and the 3 minutes might not be enough. So I don't want to kind of break the conversation they are going to be sharing with us. So maybe we can take the break a little earlier, and then when we come back, every group will give us their thoughts and also gives them time to little process what they may be sharing with the group, with the whole class. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. So would you like to announce what the break is for everyone? I don't know exact length of it.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and give them, let's be nice. Let's go ahead and give them the 6.5 minutes, and we'll come back at 11.
All right, have fun. Take a grab of coffee, grab a coffee or whatever, and I'll see you soon. So shall we start, Dr. Alos? Okay. All right, so I had the opportunity to go to a few rooms, and I was so impressed. Even I stated in a couple of them that you guys seem to be knowledgeable enough to give similar seminars. And I really like some of the things from the books or my own experience or training I heard coming from you guys. So that's really a wealth of knowledge, and really nice to know how smart and wonderful and well read and well thoughtful you are. So I want to kind of have this in a way, instead of going to group, I want to state the question, and each group or each member, if your spokesperson want to share what that group talked in connection with one of the questions, then we will have a little discussion on question 1, a little bit on question 2, because it's kind of as a story follows better rather than we jump to many different, separate stories or conversations. Does that sound good? All right, so first question was thinking about examples of negotiation that you have participated in. So we can think about group one, if they want to share something, and then naturally group 2 and 3, that kind of order, either the leader or the spokesperson or any member are welcome to contribute.
Hi, I was in group 1 and we were talking about different things that we would negotiate about. And a few things we came up with was group work, negotiating different things to do at work, like, okay, you do this, I do this, and negotiating with professors on exams or quizzes.
Very good. I don't want any group obligate to answer all the question. If you in a limited time didn't get to that, that's okay to skip. So if group 3 feels like group 2 didn't talk anybody, it's okay. So a little bit casual, like informal conversation, it's okay. So you don't have to say something for the sake of saying something. All right, if group 2 has something to share on that differently or addition to. Okay, next person would like to share their thoughts.
Group 2 was Esteban Icom. Esteban, you can share. You're here.
Yeah, I honestly didn't know which group I was. But I guess one thing that we went over that you had joined during the conversation was kind of like, what's the wrong thing to say during an interview? You need to know who you're interviewing and then how to work with their personality to phrase things the right way.
Okay. So interview is an example of, yes, negotiation for different jobs. Thank you for sharing. Group 3 or any member of group 3?
We discussed like things that might happen in real life, like in everyday, like if you go to a swap meet or a yard sale, or you're looking to buy something, or thrifting is a big thing now where you kind of negotiate those prices. We also talked about negotiating with our parents as well as our pets when they don't want to give something back. 1 treat versus 2 treats is what I do a lot with my dog.
Yeah, yeah, very good. You ask him, you need to roll over 1 more time to get another treat. So that's a negotiation, right? Very good. Next group.
Oh, I think we were group 4. So one of the things we had talked about is that when you do go into a negotiation, it might be pretty important to not sound super demanding when you kind of bring up some of the things you want. So like, for example, if you're trying to negotiate a salary, instead of saying like, oh, I want this salary or else I'm just not going to talk about it at all, but instead going with like some research and like some information about what like the range of salaries are, and say you think that you're worth a little bit more and you'd like to negotiate to a higher salary.
Yes, excellent. Next group.
I think for us, I think, yeah, we're group 5. That when you're going into like say an interview and we actually also base it kind of like, you know, say you're in a project with like a group of 4 or 5 and you're always negotiating like, okay, I want to do this part or you can do this part, kind of like a thing. You know, but you always want to say you get into like a confrontation and you're like, you have 2 people who wants the same thing. You kind of have to go saying like, you have to negotiate, okay, I'm good for this reason because of X, Y, Z reasons. And if they also come up with something, then you have to come with like a compromise, which is like something that happens in, you know, say a salary negotiation. Say you want, I don't know, like X amount of dollars, but they give you a Y amount of dollars. You know, you try to find that compromise, but you have to make sure like you give your reasons why you're worth that money. So that's like kind of like what we have, like what we talked about.
Very good. Group 6. Did we have a group 6?
I think we were group 6. So some of the topics that we covered in the beginning were during schoolwork, you know, negotiating with your teammates, at home, negotiating with your parents and like your siblings, in the workforce, negotiating like your schedule. And something that was common among the group was a fear of confrontation or a fear of like getting into kind of that type of conversation when you're trying to do your negotiations? And another question was, how do you know like your negotiation is like reasonable, or are you overreaching, or are you like, how do you know that your negotiation is kind of like in that kind of, I don't know, correct range, I guess?
Very good. I'm not sure, did we have group 7, Dr. Alice? Okay, so I think that must be our, last.
Yeah. We were Emily and Mariana, we were group 7, and what we talked about was, well, for the first question, we mostly went over like what kind of negotiations we went through, and it was mostly like we talked about our siblings and those type of negotiations we have with our siblings regarding just like, everyday chores, negotiations we have with our parents regarding like curfews, negotiations when like going through like an interview process. On top of that, we also talked about, for the second question, like how we feel when we're faced with a negotiation. Like a common theme we all had was that we all felt somewhat like scared and nervous, especially if it was like in an interview. But when it was like in my case with my siblings, it was always like, oh, like I'm gonna come out on top, like with my siblings. But that's just because of the type of relationship that we have.
Very good for sharing, and thanks for touching on the feeling that we will, I actually heard in other rooms similar things. I know we once went through all the groups and there were some contribution to relatively, at least first question and third question. But before I start sharing some of the kind of answers that the professional are give to this question, is there any person or any group would like to highlight and share aspects of their conversation? Anything that we didn't touch upon?
In our group, there was a part where we mentioned how we felt. Well, I know I mentioned that I tend to feel intimidated and insecure, and we brought up like cultural upbringing. So I'm raised in a traditional Mexican household where we respect, there's a hierarchy or patriarchy. So I feel that because of a lifetime exposure to that, when it comes to the workforce and when it comes to my superior, I get very nervous, or I start feeling like I'm in the wrong when it comes to those kinds of negotiations.
Yes.
And that it's much easier when it's just my peers. But when it comes to authorities and like the hierarchy, it's much more nerve-wracking.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you're somewhat answering so much better part of the question Dr. Alas asked, that why this is happening and why we are not asking. Some of the examples you brought up are very specific and nice, and I can relate to it. I've grown up in a culture that like you don't speak in a people older than yourself much. Like if you go to a group and you're youngest person, you just listen. And think about if you're going to a big company and somebody has a, like the boss, and then that gives some sort of terrifying feeling to all of us. But those are the, things that being aware of them and finding the way to control our emotion, our voice, our breathing, and that's the things that I'm going to be talking about. But again, to make sure everybody had a chance to share their ideas one more time, is there anything else that you would like to share before I start going with some of the slides? All right. Well, in that case, we will have other opportunity, and feel free, please, to interrupt me whenever you like. But I'm going to share some, additional, am I sharing my screen? No, just a moment. I am going to share this screen, and then this screen, and then I'm going to go to my slide mode. All right, you guys can see my screen, right? So these are some of the questions that you discussed, and I will, touch upon most of them again and add to what you already have said or know. So how do we start? you know, when we want to have this conversation, we get those self-doubts, and we do have some cultural expectation that holds us back. And for example, we might panic, worry, feel that, you know, we are not prepared well enough for this conversation, or this becomes as a disrespectful, or people might take it personal. And more important than negotiation is, and higher the other person you're talking to, this level of feeling and panic increases. You know, like with your civilian sister and brother is easy, with your classmate is little, maybe more, and then professor level goes higher. But if you go to dean's office or have an opportunity to talk to the, you know, university president, or you're going for interview for a job, these scales up. So what kind of tactics we can use in a negotiation is some of the things that you were perhaps thought about it. So I have one tactic that is when you're talking to people. I remember in one of the breakout room that we're talking about going to the professor and asking, you know, about reconsidering a partial credit or the class, you know, certain answers. They may come defensive, and individual different. Not everybody is prepared to, you know, very well, even if they are in the higher level, they don't know how to do this kind of conversation, and they may become defensive. But one of the things that helps with that is the approach that we will take in. For example, instead of saying that I was right here, and, you know, you have to, I guess I am going ahead of myself. This is not having to do with my slide, but the point I was trying to say that is keeping in mind that when you are going towards the conversation and negotiation, and you may feel that it might become defensive and personal, you want to be more careful about starting conversation such that it is focused on the subject, like about the question, about the answer, about the you know, resources and evidence that you have. It's not about me being correct and you not giving me the point not being the correct. So this was something I wanted to talk, because I heard in rooms that I think that might be helpful to ease up the conversation. But as far as the feeling and that kind of you know, being panicked, there are things that we can do, and I think my slide more focus on that one. So instead of saying that I want to survive this conversation, I have to do this, I have to go to an interview, and it's so, you know, like feeling panic about that, you can say that, you know, I want to find a way to get this person to do what is in my best interest, or what I want to, or whatever goal you have in your mind. Your goal of walking into that negotiation is not about, oh, it's so hard and I don't know how to do this, but more with like, how can I influence, how can I bring my evidence and points in such a way that the other person is convinced that my expectations are reasonable. And also to reduce your panic, think about that. Don't always think that like, oh, it's a disaster if you don't get what you want, or you may make the other person angry. You want to think about that. What is the best alternative, like best alternative to what you actually want? So what you may want to get, you actually want, may not be possible, but you want to also think about what is that you really have to have, but there are some of the things that you want are negotiable and flexible, and you're willing maybe drop them from your expectation. So understanding that gives you yourself that range that you're able to play. I am here, I want everything and all of them, but there are 2 or 3 things that I cannot do without. And those are the things that you have to have in mind as you go to negotiation. So if you know, for example, salary cap is certain level, but you hope to get more and you feel like the work and the contribution is greater, then you can think of what you can have as an alternative. Maybe you can have a new laptop for the starting of the job. Maybe if you're in an office, you can get that corner office or a bigger desk or newer seat that is more comfortable, because they have limitation in any job. Certain things they cannot move thin hair above that, but there are other things that they can do. So you always have to have it alternative in your mind that if you don't get exactly what you want, there are some alternative that can help for you to feel that you're getting the fair end of this conversation. And of course, be prepared. If there is some of the must-have are not there, don't be scared to walk away. But you don't have to settle down and be miserable for the job or the income, or if it's not really the minimum that you can be happy with. So we get to this conversation with the two feelings. We either feel like we have to fight and argue and reason, or flight. Think about it, when tiger attacks, it's the flight or fight highly appropriate for us. So we either have to run away or we have to stay there and try to fight. What happens to our physical body and physiology is that our lots of blood goes to our brain. We get excited and kind of nervous, and breathing goes faster. We are prepared, our large muscles to run, or makes you jumpy and not calm and reflective and able to respond the best way. So when you're going to negotiation, probably you want to have a very calm and a better means of controlling and reflecting and thinking before speaking. So this idea of fight or flight is not the best mode for negotiation. It is very counterproductive, and you want to have the best brain function. So you don't want your excitement or your defensive mood or the blood pressure that goes up interfere with your best response that you can bring to the table for the conversation. You want to be creative, you want to be calm and patient. So remember that your negotiation partner is also in a similar situation, as if you become a little more aggressive or use your fight or flight mode, is going to encourage them to become more defensive and respond similarly. And your calm and creative manners also brings them to a calmer state, and they would not be as defensive or aggressive, but they think about, okay, we are here to come to an agreement, so let's think creatively and see what works for both of us. So if we want to stay calm in this situation, can you think of some of the ways that you have found that can help you to stay calm? So maybe you can share on the chat box. I have some example, but I think you may have even larger pool of ideas that what helps you in a sensitive, important, exciting, or nervous situation to calm down and stay calm.
That always helps me is just taking like a deep breath wherever I'm at. If I feel like I'm starting to get, the heartbeat to increase, just stopping whatever I'm doing and just taking a deep breath and focusing on trying to calm down.
Very, very important. Don't underestimate that deep breath, the effect in your overall physiology. Okay, thank you for sharing. Anything else?
I know for me, if I'm at home, I'll just try to talk to my mom. I know it's super, some people don't have that option, but talking to my mom always helps me calm down, because sometimes she always knows the right thing to say, or even if I just need a hug, it really helps.
Yes, very good. Any other strategies to calm ourselves down?
I listen to music or sing if I can afford to do it before the actual moment.
Wonderful. I mean, most of the things that I have here you covered, and I'm sure you have lots of other ideas, but some examples that I have is hydration. You don't want to go hungry and dehydrated and not slept, so you to a very important meeting of your life. You want to have a posture that it is superhero stand. So one of the things is, especially again about the woman is being said, we usually hold our hands together and we occupy the smallest space possible. And that shows nervousness and lack of confidence. But you see, if you go to someone who is putting their hands behind their arm, and when they are standing, their feet a little bit apart, and they are occupying a larger space, that gives confidence, that gives power, that gives us a better feeling because we can breathe better. So keep in mind the posture is important in both your own physical feeling and emotion, but also what you convey as a support for your language. Your body language is very important. And like one of you said, you talked to a confidant, like went to a friend, a mother or someone, and maybe even practice with them, or bring your examples, or see if your expectations are reasonable, and that calms you down. So you feel like you got over all those, emotion, and you put them out. Now you can express them more logically, calmly, and with patience and evidence. And also in overall the, care, making a good care of yourself. So have a care that, you may get excited, you may get upset, you may get disappointed. You have to have a plan. Okay, what am I going to do? When you think things get a little tense, you can remind yourself that you can take a step back, be quiet for a minute, take a deep breath, pause. These will give you reassurance, a time to put your emotion a little bit more under control. So have a plan that if I get a little upset, or if I lose what I'm going to be saying, what is my tactics? It's not a bad thing to just pause. This actually settles lots of things down, and these are some, things that you could do. Let's look some more strategies when it comes to our communication skills. Sometimes in these meetings, often we are either in one-on-one, hardly maybe you're interviewing with more than one person. And when you go to this scenario, we prepare lots of things to say, but we don't really prepare well enough to how to say them. And what we say, perhaps, I would say how we say something perhaps is even more important than what we say. And people remember that, pose and the manners and the tone of the voice and the confidence or the humor much more than what actually you say. So in order to leave that impression, there are certain things that are very important to keep in mind. Definitely, I would say breathing is central, one of the most important things that you need to do both before getting to an important, negotiation, meeting, or difficult situation, and also during. So one of the things that you want to also keep in mind is have a, 2 or 3 main points prepared rather than talking about many things in this order. Land your points. So have this, like, I think this is what is fair, or what I like to have, or what is my expectation because of this and this. For example, you do research enough, you say, I know average salary is this way, but I have 2 years of experience, so I would expect that that would count into some factors. Or you talk about the level of additional training you have taken, or whatever that you think it's the reason and evidence that can be valued to put you above that average. So you have 2 or 3 clear ideas, and you land those points clearly. Whenever you need, you use silence. Silence is so powerful. When you want to say something important, you can pause before to bring everybody's attention. Or after you say that, you can pause. Or even you can pause in the middle of the sentence when you want to emphasize certain things. So try to practice those when you are going to be having an important conversation. I'm going to skip the qualifying, eliminate the qualifiers, that because I have a nice video, I will show you that. But the other part is that make your points clear and articulate, your words. Don't speak very fast. Don't eat up the end of the sentences. And also, in order to make your point, make your sentences short. as far as clarifying what you want and why that is reasonable. When we are talking about articulating your words, again, I have something here to speak clearly, stick to few takeaways, and not up-speak. So this up-speaking and eliminating the qualifier of saying in our language, it's one of the really things that makes the value and the impact of what we are saying much less than what you actually have prepared. So let me show you a very brief video here that I cannot really well to do this myself. So I think it's reasonable. This lady does a good job in showing that. So it's a short 2 or 3 minutes, maybe it's not even 3 minutes, but let's listen that what are some of the things that we do in our conversation and the tone of our voice that creates actually negative impact rather than powerful impact.
And yesterday I heard a fabulous interview on NPR on Fresh Air with Terry Gross, all about women's voices and vocal fry and upspeak. So I thought I would share with you what some of the things that I've been noticing and my kind of theories around the trends in voices these days. And they were really talking about women's voices particularly, and how women's voices get a lot of criticism in the media, largely for two qualities, which they pointed out, and it's true. Women are not the only people who have these two qualities, but they tend to get criticism for it and men don't. So the two qualities we're talking about are upspeak, or going up at the end of your sentences and even kind of mid-sentence a lot of times, like that. And then there's vocal fry or creak is what they call it if they're linguists. And that is this, where you're down here. It's also the same thing that men do, for example, in a world, when they do that, the famous movie trailer voice, that's a kind of creak as well. So fascinating, the interviews that they had on there, and I'm going to put them in the message below because I'm not going to remember everybody's names. I want to get it right because they're fascinating perspectives, talking about how our lowering our voice makes us sound more authoritative, that women often get flack about not sounding authoritative. And so I do agree with the opinion that, and sometimes when I'm an actress, I'm a singer, I work on these things for myself, but also in between gigs I coach. And it's something that I've worked with people on as well. Because I do feel that because in this culture, when we ask a yes or no question, and probably several kinds of questions, we go up at the end to indicate that it's a question. And so if I say, my name is Amy Walker, and I go up at the end, I'm indicating to you either that I'm not sure what my name is, or that I don't feel confident in myself, is what it can come across that way. They were saying, well, I'll let you listen to that for their opinion. I agree. I feel that when I tell you with my tone, if I don't go quite up or if I don't go quite down, you're still waiting for the end of the sentence. And there's something magical that happens when I drop that period with my voice. It says, that all was one thought chain. So it indicates to the listener, okay, I'm gonna put all those things together and make sense of that as a complete thought chain. So if we're waiting and waiting and waiting for like the thing to go down and it just doesn't go down, and then we're just kind of like waiting for to like breathe and to figure out all the things that we're gonna have to string together to make one complete sentence in our heads and like make a thought about it. And it's a little bit exhausting to me. This is all my opinion. So then,
All right. I will leave that link for you if you're interested to watch more or the resources that she shared with you. But I think that's really a good example of up speaking or frying voice that some of us have, and it's a good idea to try to practice and get over them. One other techniques in about the body language is, making your eye contacts. That's important. You don't want to be looking away when, like, down or side when you're talking to someone. That's another difficult thing. I mean, with the Zoom, I really try to look at the camera, but honestly, I end up looking at your faces. And sometimes I have another monitor move this way, and it's really hard. But to make the impact you want to have in any conversation, you want to have a good eye contact. And the other things are that, sometimes we play with our hair or, rock our chair, or I don't know, do things that are distractive and lowers the impact of our conversation. We do lots of these things. So if you want to be effective when you're preparing for this kind of conversation, rehearse. I mean, you would not believe, I know professors and at top universities that they rehearse their every single lectures. I can't say I am that way, but for my first time teaching every course and anything that it is a little more complicated, I have to rehearse. And I believe that everybody else do, and that means gives us confidence, gives us calmness, and gives us ability to control those distractors and hand movement and gestures and the qualifiers that takes the audience's attention from the points we are trying to make. So let's summarize some of the things that we talked so far about negotiation. One of them was the body language and present. As far as the body, in addition to eye contact and getting more space, is the fact that you want to keep your head floats upright, just like not like this, but really up and proud and chin forward, shoulders drop and chest open, arms hang freely rather than being tied or something. And feet on the ground. If you're sitting, it's a good idea that adjusting your seat in a level that your feet are on the ground. Not only those are good for your back and generally your health, but also gives you a stance of confidence. And then breathing is enormously powerful. And being deep, and there are actually techniques, there are apps that tells you like this 4 square breathing, how you take your breathing for a longest time, and even sometimes pause a couple seconds before exhaling. And having those in a regular daily manners is also really a good meditation and good for your brain and your body. The facial expressions are important. Face being open, eyes smiling, and those makes a huge impact on the outcome of the conversation you will have and the impression you leave on others. So I want to ask a couple volunteers with keeping this in mind, maybe willing to try to reintroduce themselves. So those of you who are comfortable, or have the camera, if you're willing to give us a couple examples of maybe trying to implement those a little more than usual on the way you speak and you introduce yourself. Let's take a couple examples of that before we move on to the next part. I just ask for a couple volunteers. This is a safe place. Sometimes you have to do it in a very serious and real world. But think about it, being more relaxed, breathing, chin up, smiling with your eyes, being clear. A couple good volunteers, all I'm asking.
I could volunteer.
Thank you, Edna.
Hello, everybody. My name is Edna Lomeli, and I am a senior at Cal Poly Pomona. My major is biology.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's really important that every time you've been asked, think about how much impression you're going to be making at individuals to do that. So not just ordinary, I am Homeira Saragiani. You know, it's just like it makes a different impression. Let's hear from a couple more. Thank you, Edna. That was really great.
I could go.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cassie Lopez. I'm currently a senior at Cal Poly Pomona.
Wonderful, wonderful. Do I have another couple more, you know?
Yeah, go.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so hi, my name is Cecilia Sainz. I'm a third-year biotechnology major here at Cal Poly Pomona.
Wonderful, very nice. You know, sometimes we forget that we have to really make this an impression, because people are going to get to know you with that who you say you are. And we say that in many different ways. So let's put, some of us have that naturally all the time, but some of us have to practice. And if you do practice, it becomes your natural way of saying. You see some people, when they start talking, you just feel good to listen to them. You see energy, you see positivity, you see confidence. And some people, they seem always tired and, you know, exhausted and not in such a good mood. So if you practice that, in introducing yourself is showing the best of energy and body language that you can, that becomes your nature. And that's a positive and very valuable attribute. Do I have any other volunteers? All right. Yes, Samantha.
Hello, my name is Samantha Hernandez, and I'm a chemistry major here at Cal Poly Pomona.
Very good, very good. Clear and nice and with the head up. And so if you didn't get a chance to share or volunteer now, maybe the mirror in your bathroom is a good place. That would be nice to try a couple of ways. I see, you know, if you're meeting someone for the first time, how much your way of introducing yourself makes a difference on the impression you leave on them. Okay, so let's see. Is there any question at this point? I'm going to start sharing back my screen. So, and also check, I have a variety of kind of different things that I can talk about it, but I want to see the time and do something that's both useful and not going to be partial as we go through this. All right, so let's again to look a little bit more about some are how to start these kind of conversation. I mean, they're generally, if we want to talk about overall plans, is you have a goal. You will go to a negotiation knowing exactly what you would like to get out of it or have the other person to do. Then you have some alternatives in your mind. And you have done your research and study to know what are reasonable in a way, and defining somehow as much as possible, finding out what is the range of their comfort and coming up with your must-have and the things that can be alternative options. And then think about in your mind, what is the range of the zone of you know, agreement, the ZOPA. So that's kind of part of the goals. Then the empathize is kind of figuring out what the other person maybe is interested and realizing that there might be some information or some limitation in other person's ability to grant all your wishes. So that also goes with the research, knowing that what are the limitations, both as far as, you know, either they're above their, you know, position puts those limitations, the budgetary issues put limitation on them, the objectives of the project put sometimes limitation on people that they want to grant you all your wishes, but they can't. So, and then having the strategy, some of them we talked about this strategy, how to start. But again, to put all these in the practice, we can talk, I want to spend, I mean, I had some details on all these, but due to time, I skipped those, but I want to talk about some of the techniques on how to start the conversation. So let's look at some of them. So one of them is create safety, both for yourself and for the person that you're going to be talking with. In this scenario, you want to definitely show them that you are there for a common agreement, and you're not there to say that you are deserving better and that person is not seeing all you have to offer. So you want to calm yourself and don't think about that, this is a fight or flight, but it's a negotiation, and you have a partner that also may be feeling the same way. They don't want to lose you, but they can't give you everything you want. So with that in mind, you want to understand, in a way, share with them that you understand some of their limitation, and respecting their leadership, giving the idea that you have given already credit to their reasons or to their knowledge and ability on the decisions or suggestions or offers they have made. And, if it's your advisor and you want to maybe ask something that is a little different, you want to somehow acknowledge the value they had in your life, the things you have learned from them. And this kind of helps the other person to calm down and realize that you're not there to fight with them. This is a strategy to make other person feel safe and look at the conversation as a mutual interest. And they feel like they have been heard, they have been respected, they have been understood. So that's one of the techniques. So you don't want to start with like, oh, this is not fair, this is not right, and things that makes the people to be defensive to begin with. So you want to establish the common purpose, saying things like, we both want the best outcome for this project or this job. Or if you're going to a conference and you want to be the one who is presenting, you can first highlight the goals of that activity and what it is that you both want to happen. Then you can bring your point at how you make the team or the project or the work to reach those objectives and purposes. And you can also use contrasting statements that shows that if certain things have not been met or not done, you will not reach the purpose, and how your contribution and your work is the key element to get the team, the project, or the job that it is being offered to a best possible outcome. And you can come back to this anytime you want. When the other person gets again worked out and you feel like excited, you come back to safety. So this is a very strong, difficult but strong techniques. You're going beyond keeping yourself calm, but you're also going to create the conversation, the other person who may not have had the practice or the stakes to put that calmness. They're here. If you're not the one they're going to be hiring, they're going to move to the other one. But in whatever reason, if they get worked out and they seem like they are in either defensive or aggressive way, you want to bring them to that safety. You cannot get to best what you want if they are not calm. So to do that, you want to explain that issues you have very clearly. This is the second step. After creating that safety, you talk about things very simply in a direct way, in a clear and short sentences. And you definitely want to back up what you're saying with the data, with the facts, with the information that you have gathered from your research, not interpretation or a gut feeling or my emotion or that's how I feel. So some techniques to have this conversation is to talk about I've observed and I saw, I noticed. You can tell a story that is relevant. Maybe a colleague had similar, situation, or things that brings other person's attention to the punch point that you're going to give at the end. And then after the observation, data, or kind of a storytelling, then you can talk about feeling, given all these, I feel that it's fair, or it would be a better choice if you put me in the front of, audience for presentation, or if I receive a compensation that keeps me motivated to go this extra mile and the work that I will be delivering. And then again, you can restate the act, that what is exactly you want them to do. And throughout this, you are the one, you're going to control the stories. You're going to be the calm person. You have a path in your mind where you're starting. These are my data, these are my evidence. And then as I go on, then I can say, kind of bring feeling and emotion to it if useful, and then you go to the act of what you want. Don't start opposite. I want you to give me the highest salary possible. That's not how you start a negotiation conversation. And share your observation. In a way, think about how you're going to be delivering something that it's above and beyond. And also ask sometimes then, what are they looking for? If you're not sure, and it's like, what additional things you have in mind for this position, for this project. So then you can maybe be creative right on the spot to offer ideas or contributions, something that you didn't think about it, but as you ask them what they have in mind, you can add to the previous evidence and the data or reasons that you had. And again, you can continue the conversation after, calming down and creating the safety and giving the reasons. For example, there is a little cartoon that's kind of relevant here. You want to kind of throughout the time, come back to many of the points when relevant. You stay focused and you know where you have started and where you are. And anytime the person saying things, you have a bag of ideas and keys and evidence that you can bring back and present to support your request. There is another issue that, sometimes there are techniques that people use and it seems out of character depending on our culture or expectation. For example, I think like my little girl, when she was younger, she would usually say, hey guys, let's go do this. And she would always be like, let's guys do this. And one interpretation for that, especially if the female are doing, it can be called as bossy. But similar attributes often in males is referred to as leadership skills. So sometimes we might use techniques that our environment would not expect from us to do that. So again, if you have a big, powerful, tall, white guy, for lack of anything, just kind of like, I wouldn't work for anything less than this, it might come since our confidence and power. Like for a woman with a very, petite size and then kind of little, maybe even shy, if they do act a little bit demand that way, they will be called demanding or aggressive. So these are shortcomings in our society that somewhat attributes different way and techniques to individual. That being said, having the confidence is important, but also knowing your environment and keeping the goal in mind. What is that you want out of this conversation? Different times, different techniques can be more useful, and having that knowledge and understanding the impact of what you would use as a technique. It's either, trying to have other people have some sort of understanding by being vulnerable is one way, but the other way is being more straightforward and asking. Different times and how safe, how close, how comfortable with the person you're negotiating you are, these techniques can either one work. And these are some other things that I'm saying, there's strong overlap. Something I shared, the leadership usually is associated with male and can be misinterpreted if it's used in women. sometimes if you act like, I don't know, these are, it goes to lots of gender bias issues that maybe we don't have enough time to talk about that, but there is definitely certain roles is assigned in our society for male and female unspokenly, just out of the common practice, not right or wrong. And violating those could cause pushbacks. And the one other problem is that woman is supposed to be always soft, smiley, forgiving, in a way compromising. And the idea that what I want to do, I don't want to upset someone, I don't want them not like me. Sometimes it kind of pushes our opportunity back away from us. It is a trait that is not a bad trait, but unfortunately, it is more common in female than male in average. Again, I'm not generalizing, but if you are someone who are holding back from the opportunities because of worrying that someone may not like you, you have to realize that you can never please everyone. And to be a leader, to be a large responsibilities, there are always going to be people that may not find your act the perfect and they may not like what you do. But you have to make a decision. Are you just happy to be liked and do the things that people pleasing? Or if you want to step up and make a bigger impact in the society and have bigger responsibilities, then you have to overcome that big desire of being a just people pleaser. That I have been there, trust me. And again, being more practical and adjusting techniques to deal with the different scenarios is the skills that part of it comes from experience, but also there are lots of good reads and good TED Talks or documentaries that you can find from successful people who talk about how they have become to grow and become a different person by overcoming some of our common traits, our intrinsic traits, and building the kind of traits that improves our success. That could be helpful. I have so much more to say, but I mean, not like slides to share, not to say, but I'm going to stop here with this cartoon that talks about things that we can control. Actually, perhaps I should actually end with this one. And stop sharing my screen and open to any questions you have. I know it was a long session, and as much as I like not to be the one talking, definitely the virtual mode increases my time of being the speaker. But I hope that it wasn't too long of a conversation on my side. Any questions? Oh, that's good. Thank you, Rita. Dr. Alice, I don't know. I want to open for questions, but also I want to respect everybody's time.
Yeah, we still have 5 minutes till noon. Some of them do have to leave, and if you do have to go to class, that's fine. I guess one of the things that you can address is when do they know in this back and forth between they and the potential, people who will hire them. When do you call it enough?
Okay, yes. I think there is this point of you must have certain things. That is, you have to be true to your values. You have to have them ahead of time. And there are times that you may talk to someone and you feel like no matter how you're giving your information and evidence, they're not listening or getting that. And no matter how you trying to calm, they are not. So you just go back to what were the things that you must have. If you do not have the things that you came in, that these are the things that I must have in order to accept this deal and negotiation, then that is the point that you walk out. It is a hard thing to do, but trust me, you don't want to settle down for something that is not going to be pleasant, is not going to be exciting to wake up to it every morning. unless you have to, like, you know, it is like you don't have any other option and you have to get the job and this is the only thing, then you can think of temporarily you put up with certain things. But when you have options, and you know what are the minimum things that you're willing to settle down for, you do everything, every evidence a reasonable, you know, person would accept. There are cases that if it's not a job and you cannot walk out, the other step is here. The thing is that the person you feel that is next to you is giving the reasons that are not reasonable. I have this slide that I skipped, but I think it's worth sharing. You want to think that why is that a reasonable person would say no to you if you gave all this evidence? Let me quickly share this slide. I think it's worth for answering that question that I skipped. So no matter how weird their position may seem, ask yourself, why would a reasonable, rational, and decent person do this? So you can walk out and go like, why is that? Why are they not hearing or understanding that what I'm asking is reasonable? So for a chosen situation, let's think about this. It's possible that this person is not able to share with you the limitation that they have. That's why you don't hear the good reason that convinces you. So it is like you see something, but the reality is a different thing. It is always possible. You know, it's possible that person wants to give you more, but there is lots of things under that iceberg that you don't see. And maybe they're not able to share with you at the given time. In a way, sometimes you have to accept and not a defeat that if you don't have an alternative option, you have to settle down for certain things. Like if you're doing a graduate study and your advisor is not doing certain things, there may be things out of their control that if they're a reasonable person, if they're a fair person, maybe it's just out of their control and they're not willing to give you the details and share that. And there's also possible that you're dealing with someone who is not reasonable. And then that's the point that you have to make a decision. Either accept that temporary situation for the purpose of the final outcome, or realize that, no, this is not something I will do, and break away that deal. Like, you know, I'm sorry, I cannot go to this conference. That for some reason your cost is not being compensated or your role is not being acknowledged and you credit your, so you have to sometimes make a choice between the best that could be happening and that what is on the table.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? No. Well, Dr. Satagiani, we want to thank you so much for coming here and help us with an important topic. And I hope if anyone has a particular specific question, maybe they can reach out to you saying, hey, I know you don't remember me, but I'm going through this and what would you suggest? So thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for all of the lessons, the advice. And I wish we all had this advice this many years ago.
Thank you so much for having me. As I promised, I want to put that link to the YouTube if anybody would like to watch it or have more resources. And like Dr. Alla said, I am a faculty in the physics department. If anything, I can be of help or, you know, bouncing back ideas in a specific scenarios. I'll be more than happy if you email me and we can touch base.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to wish everybody not just a great weekend, but have a wonderful week off.
Yes.
Okay, spring break. Be safe in everything you do and have fun. Get some rest.